Everyone online says you need to scale with a course. And I say, sell the damn service. I'm Emylee Williams, award-winning consultant and productized offer expert since 2014. And I'm here to help you work less, make more, and stop custom building your burnout. Each week, we talk strategy, structure, and the real stories behind sustainable service businesses. You know, from service providers who like doing service work, who want to stay in service work, but also just make more money. If you're ready for all that yapping, then let's dive in. My lunch just now was a bowl of salsa and queso that I dip first into queso and then dip into salsa and have an entire bowl of chips. And it was delicious.
That is absolutely like a great lunch.
It's
I
girl
do that.
lunch, you
Yeah.
know? Mhm.
Yeah. That's one of my weekend lunches.
Yes,
Weekend food is very different from weekday food.
very different. It's even more girl lunch in my opinion because my dad brought it to me. I was not feeling well earlier this week, and I was like kind of cramping and just grouchy, and I was just like, meh. And he was like, I'm sorry. And so then he texted me later in the afternoon. He was like, I'm gonna stop by and like, because my kid had left some stuff at his house, and he's like, I'm gonna bring this backpack and whatever. He was like, can I bring you anything? And I was like, you know what I could really use? And just like, I just was like, chips, salsa, and queso. Like, that just sounds good. And then 20 minutes later, from my favorite Mexican restaurant, he's like, here you go. And I'm like, oh,
Good dad.
thanks, Dad. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I just watched this hilarious TikTok video. It's an SNL skit where Sabrina Carpenter was on last weekend. I don't know if you watch SNL or watched any of the clips. I just watch clips when they pop up. Um, she did a skit called Tall Plain Boyfriend. And it starts with her like on a date with a regular guy and he's like kind of weird and show offy, and she's like, oh, short guys like maybe try to show off and overcompensate. That's why sometimes I like to have tall plain boyfriend. He doesn't have any thoughts, but he comes with catchphrases. And so she like stands next to him, and you know she's the teeniest person, and so she's next to this like 6'5" SNL guy, and she goes, oh, my family just died. And he goes, man, that sucks. And so I downloaded the video and sent it to my friend who has a tall plane.
Has she responded yet?
No, she will though. Yeah, so she'll respond probably mid-episode, and I'll tell you what she said.
Great. I love it.
It's just so funny to me. So funny to me.
Yeah. I feel that.
Yeah. We've all known them and loved them on both ends of the spectrum. And
Yeah.
and so I have a daughter, and so I'm at risk of, I don't have to raise a tall plain child, but there's a chance that I might have to welcome one into my family at some point. And we'll see, because my kiddo is going to be tall. She's going to be very tall. We wear the same size shoes right now. She's 8.5.
Oh,
Shoes.
yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay. I was like, well, her birthday's like right after Christmas. So I was like, hey, you should ask for like these Ugg boots for Christmas, because she'll wear them for like 3 months and then they'll be mine.
Oh my gosh. That is a brilliant parenting
I was
hack.
like, it's wild. My third grader wants a pair of Rothy's. That's so weird. She just loves them so much. My mother-in-law is going to be like, I buy you a pair of Rothy's every year for your birthday. What are you talking about? What do you mean? Yeah, it's crazy. How's your week going?
It's been good. I like tried a new service delivery option for like a process that's been so painful. And it worked
In
great.
work or life?
Yeah, in business.
Okay.
Yeah. So one of the like biggest issues that I've been figuring out over the past several years is that bookkeeping cleanups drag on.
Yeah.
And we'd, for the 8 years of the business, I've been doing asynchronous cleanups, right? And so, trying to get all of that information, you onboard, and it's just been a lot of like back and forth.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, the clients that are like, I want to onboard immediately and I need reports yesterday are the clients that like go incommunicado for months and we're like,
Mhm.
I can't do anything.
Hi, I you this is a you had to participate in this
Mhm,
conversation.
mhm. Like, I can't make numbers up. This
Uh-huh.
that's not
Mhm.
how this goes. So, another bookkeeping firm owner that I met mentioned that they started doing VIP days for cleanup. And so I implemented it and we did it this Monday for the first time and it went so well.
Did you
We
get it all
got
done?
we got like 5% of it done.
Oh my
Mhm,
gosh.
mhm. It was amazing, absolutely amazing. So we did, like, what, 9 months worth of cleanup in 1 day.
How many hours was your VIP day?
It was, what is that, 7 hours? We kicked off at 9 a.m. and did the closing call at 4 p.m.
So, that was a day. It was a
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
How did you structure that? You took breaks, obviously.
Yeah, yeah, we took breaks, and so we had 3 team members working on it,
Okay.
and before the VIP day, we, went through and did, like, our normal access calls, so that's,
Right.
like, let's get access to the bank accounts, let's
Yeah.
get access to the other software that we know we're gonna need, let's validate that we have all of the info,
Yeah.
and, like, one of the one of the common surprises we get is in scoping a project, the client will be like, "We have 2 bank accounts." And I'll be like, "Cool." And I'll, like, look through things a little bit if I can. And then we get into the cleanup and it's like, "Oh, but there's also these, like, 2 other
I have
accounts."
7 bank accounts.
Oh, like,
Yeah.
that's actually needs to be
I need
included.
to know that stuff too.
And so trying to, like, suss out in that access call and, like, look through the bank statements and be like, "Okay, what account numbers are we seeing here?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
does that is this Amex that you're paying with your business account a business Amex or is it a personal Amex?"
Mhm.
Right? And if it's personal, fine. But if it's business, we need to know
We
and we need access.
and classify that, yeah.
So like just getting that initial like lay of the land access and then during the VIP day went in and just started classifying everything
So just
and
the whole time you're just like, "What's this? What's this? What's this?"
a little bit. So like the kickoff call is to go through
Mm.
some of the bigger things that we've already identified. Like this account, this category that you have that's like named very specifically. How do you think about it? Like, what do
Mm,
you
mhm.
mean when you say um,
Education.
education, or in this scenario, it was a client that has multiple businesses, and
Mm,
we end up working with a lot of people that have multiple
multi.
businesses. And so they had an account like called like AP, this other business name.
Oh,
And it was like, let's clarify. You mean that this is money that you have sent to your other company that the other company is going to owe this company, correct?
right. Right. Okay.
And
Here's
just
how
like
I'm
making
interpreting
sure
this. Yeah.
mhm, that
Yeah.
interpretation is the same. And that clarifies a lot. And then getting through some of the initial like, how do you think about separating out your revenue?
Yeah.
What are the streams? What
Yeah.
are the common trends? And then like we get, a pretty good lay of the land where we can have a lot of discernment based on that. And then throughout the day, then we're looking at those one-off transactions where it's like, what is this?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
It was an Amazon order. What was it?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and getting into those sort of one-offs. And so we have a very like async process. We use our client portal. And so we're working throughout the day. The client was responding to our questions throughout the day.
Okay,
And
so you're
then
not, like, on Zoom, but you're just, like, dedicated, you need to be available to respond?
yeah, so it's
Okay.
a call in the morning with the client and then a call in the afternoon with the client. And then in that in between time, it's we're we're not on Zoom, we're just communicating through the client portal.
Okay.
And so like it's not the day if you're the client to like have a bunch of other calls
Right.
or the
how'd you
Mhm.
communicate that prior? Where you were just like, "Bitch, sit at your computer. What are you doing?" Like
in the proposal that we
okay.
send, and that lays it out, and then, I also always send, like, a context video
Mm,
with the proposal because, like, bookkeeping is so opaque to so many business
yeah,
owners,
yeah,
and it's just really helpful to have that, like, spoken context of, like, this is what this really means in function.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and so I outlined that, and then when we do the access call beforehand, we're, like, reinforcing that of, like,
yeah.
"Hey."
Here's what this means for you to show up and be available. How did they respond to it? Did they enjoy it?
Yeah, it went really well. They said that it was a really, really good experience,
Good.
and next week we're gonna be doing the other business.
Okay,
So,
okay.
um, that same client's gonna go through the VIP day
Do it
twice,
again. Yeah.
2 different
Do you
businesses.
is this part of just, like, their onboarding process and it kinda comes with their package, or are you charging extra for this?
I charge separately for, the
Cleanup,
onboarding and
onboarding yeah.
because what I've found is in the 8 years, there's been about 5 clients that have an existing business where we haven't had to do any sort of cleanup.
Oh, were you just like, "Mwah."
It was a surprise,
Yeah, yeah,
you know? And so what I find is that there's always some sort of cleanup and that, um I've always charged separately for cleanup compared to, like, ongoing services,
mhm.
but in the last couple of years is when I implemented a setup fee
Yes, yes.
because
That
there's
month
just
1 is always just it's different.
Yep, yep, and there's always something that needs to happen,
Mhm.
and, the way that we conceptualize bookkeeping is just so different that there's just time that's required to, like, get into our world and,
Yeah.
like, get things set up so that it can actually move smoothly moving forward.
Yeah, yeah. For this to be easier and actually maintenance moving forward, we have to lay this foundation first.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, and that, like, if we just try to, like, dive in straight away,
Literally
it
impossible.
it's so impossible, and one of the things that I see again and again and that I don't think well, I mean, again, there's so many misconceptions business owners have about bookkeeping, but, like, one of the things is that the more time between the financial activity happening and the bookkeeping recording of that activity,
Yeah.
the amount of effort is an exponential
Yes.
formula, it's not linear.
Yes.
So, said another way, the longer it takes for us to record the bookkeeping, the more effort it will go in to getting it correct.
Yep. 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 And I find it's funny because I don't have a bookkeeper. I do the best I can behind the scenes.
Mhm.
I use Airtable to classify okay, here's something you don't know about me.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Okay, also for people listening, you and I connected in a networking event earlier this year, and we were in like a speed I was gonna say speed dating, speed networking event, kind of dating, online business friend dating. And we connected really well and had a coffee chat after, and we ended up talking for like 2 hours.
Mhm.
And then since then, minus like a small break in the summer, we have met every single month and we just yap.
Mhm.
And I love our friendship so much. I love how like the connection that's formed this year, and then having you on the show and now getting to like pick your brain in a different way is just really cool. So we know a lot of things about each other that are very personal, like non-business things. And now I'm like, oh, for the first time ever, I think we're chatting business. Like we
Yeah.
haven't actually really talked business this entire time. Um, you know about fights I have with my family. Like there's so many things, so many things. Um, but something you should know about me is that, I love, love, love data and making decisions from data when it comes to business growth, revenue generating, and marketing. If you ask me any question about retroactive data like expenses, I all of a sudden don't know what numbers are. And I have such still, and I'm working on this in therapy, but I have such still like an emotional connection with money,
Mm.
both
Mhm,
positive, negative, and all the things. Um, that truly, truly, anytime I talk finances about my particular finances, I just immediately am like, well, they're gonna think I'm the stupidest person in the world, and they're gonna think I'm making every wrong decision with my money, and so I don't want anyone to know, I don't want anyone to see it, I don't want it anyway.
mhm,
And I'm trying to get better at that, and so I need to be informed, and I need to know what's going on. And so part of that, though, is I have tried every single, like, do it yourself bookkeeping software out there. Every single one of them breaks my brain. Every single one. I don't know what it is about how they work. Yeah, you're nodding your head profusely. I don't know who designed them. I don't know why the interface looks the way that they do. I don't the cat none of it makes sense to me. And so I made my own. All I wanted to do was just bring in expenses and categorize them. And I have the date, the name of the expense, the amount, and the category. And I'm like, well, if I need to export this and give it to a bookkeeper at some point, or if I need to rely on it for taxes, I at least have it. So I literally use Airtable to track my expenses and to categorize them because I can see it makes a pie chart for me. It makes like what's my if I set a target amount that I want to spend in a certain category and I'm getting close to that, it can send me an alert. Like I have to set all those things up, but like I make my own categories. They're probably wrong, but like they're at least categorized. But so my whole point is whenever I'm feeling anxious about money in my own business, I avoid categorizing my own expenses and I avoid reconciling my
mhm,
stuff.
mhm.
And that is directly correlated to, well, a quarter later when I'm feeling better about things and I go back and I'm like, what is this expense? What was this? I have zero clue. And it makes my life harder. And I'm sitting here saying that knowing I have not done it in like 2 months. Mhm. Mhm.
I mean, I'm literally taking notes because I feel like I could spend the next hour and a half literally just
Yes.
expanding on what
Yes.
you just said.
Yes. And we will.
True, true. But yeah, like avoidance of the bookkeeping is like the single most common behavior I see around bookkeeping.
Yeah.
Just 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Um, and it's something to where money is still one of the areas of life, just not even business, but life that is uh like enmeshed with shame. And that when shame is present, you always hide, right? Like the things that you are most shamed
Yep.
about are the things that you will talk about the least,
Yep. Yep.
you
Yep.
know? And like I'm willing to bet that you and the listeners, like your friends probably know more about your sex life than your money life.
Yes, we talked about this in our call last couple weeks ago, and
Yeah.
it's like, "Oh, you're 100% right." I know immense intimate detail that I love to know. I love these pieces of information. Please tell me all the things. And it's like, I couldn't even tell you what her job title is,
Mhm. Mhm.
let
Yep.
alone money stuff.
Yep. 100%.
Uh,
100%. And so it's one of those things that like you think of it as an individual failure,
yeah.
and yet there's all of this socialization around it, right? And especially with money, there's something where like you're shamed for having too little of it. You're shamed for having too much of it. You're shamed for wanting it. Like and I see this
You're
around the
shamed for how
pricing
you spend it, for how
for
you
how you
save
spend
it.
it. Yep. And I see this around the pricing conversation all of the time,
Yes.
because like you could give your services away for free and someone else is going to be like, you shouldn't be doing that.
Yep. Yep. You could charge 10K for a 1 hour call, and someone's gonna say, "You shouldn't be doing that."
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like that was one of the things for me when I have been like unpacking this for myself
Mhm.
is is to just realize that, like, there truly is no right answer
Yeah.
because you like, you cannot please everyone. You are going to have people making commentary about your pricing no matter what.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so the only thing that matters is what what aligns with your nervous system
Yeah.
so that you feel comfortable, safe, and overflowing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And only you know that point.
Do you feel like your own relationship with money and what it means to you in business and life or whatever has been impacted because of your career?
Mm, absolutely. Yeah.
Because you get so many behind the scenes of businesses.
Yeah, yeah. And it's been interesting. So, um, I'm gonna like go backward,
Yeah.
full
Yeah.
con. Um,
So when she was born
yeah. My parents went into debt and
Hey, same.
um they built their like dream house. And like I grew up in a house that my parents had built that was like incredible in the middle of a forest on a little island off the Olympic Peninsula in Washington. It was
Oh,
amazing. Um and like my parents like I would say probably firmly like middle class. My dad came from more like blue collar working class, but
mhm.
like, fully economic mobility because of that. And my mom came from more upper middle class. Her dad was a doctor um in the Midwest, but he wasn't an MD, he was a DO, so he wasn't as good as the MDs,
Mhm.
all of it.
Has a whole thing too, yep.
Yep. So like I ended up being like pretty firmly middle class in my upbringing. But my parents wouldn't talk to me about their financials.
Okay, this is a whole conversation I wanna have.
Yeah.
I don't know the right thing to do
Mm,
because I wanna hear more, this entire show is both of us interrupting each other, and so
great.
that's what we
Yeah.
do. Um, I was raised like, lower income, very, like, low, low, low income, and until I was in probably high school were so my parents were separated, my dad remarried, and that family and then my mom was over here, so I had 2 families. This family, meaning my dad and my stepmom, middle class, like, just regular Midwest middle class. They would be broke in California, but, like, doing
Mhm,
okay here in Kansas City, right? Mom always in poverty, like, poverty line. I didn't feel that because we had so much family support and w it there's a there's this weird blend of, like, there is a reality in Oklahoma because everything cost 2 pennies,
mhm,
for you to live still pretty well, even if you make $25,000 a year, 30,000 a year, which is absolutely the life that I've lived for many years, and that life, the reason why I didn't go without so much is because we relied on credit card debt and support from family and bankruptcy and so many different things. And so I was a part of a lot of financial conversations that were very inappropriate for me to be a part of and brought into literally you need to have a voice in this conversation, 9-year-old, 12-year-old Emily,
mhm.
because it's impacting the family. So now as the parent of an almost 9-year-old, we have definitely talked about money in the sense of like I've tried to be very intentional about our phrases of like not saying that's too expensive and
Mhm.
instead saying like that's not in our budget right now or that's not where we're choosing to allocate our money or spend our
Yeah,
money
yeah.
and really being intentional about that phrase. But I have been thinking about recently as she's getting older, like, what is the conversation, if any, that we need to be having about like our family's personal finances and our situation, good, bad, or indifferent, of just like where we're at. I don't know what's age appropriate, and I don't know what our own version of, fucking our kids up that we're all gonna do. Um, I don't know where that line is.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And yeah, so I'll preface this by saying like I don't have kids myself. My stepson spends most of his time with his mother. Like I don't have that same
Sure.
and he's older. Um so I haven't had to navigate this myself. Um, I really love that you're using that language around like that's not in the budget or like that's not what we're choosing to prioritize, right? And talking about it through like alignment with values
Yeah,
is really good, right? Because like it is like we all get to choose what we find important, and some people want like everyday little luxuries and that makes them feel really good and they don't care about taking a big international trip. That's not right. And like either of those choices isn't inherently morally correct.
right,
And
right.
I think that's the thing, is that like there's so much moralism that has been imposed on money in general. And also, like, I think it also is like there's developmental, like appropriate developmental conversations, you being dragged into these big financial conversations when you're a child is inappropriate. I've seen that play out
Mhm,
with other
mhm.
people in my life, and it does really affect you. Um, but I think the line, right, there's two parts of this conversation, right? My parents did really good about educating me on like financial literacy. This is why, you want to build a credit history. This
Mhm.
is, how you can appropriately use credit cards. This is what a 401k is. This is
I'm
what
so jealous that you got that.
and yeah, like it was really important, and
Mhm.
also, I still have my own wounds because,
For sure.
you know, it
Yes.
I mean, childhood is inherently, like, a traumatic
A a
experience.
a time of wounds.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but I think the other part of this is teaching the nervous system regulation
Yeah,
around interacting with money, right? So you don't necessarily need to talk to your daughter about, like, the deep intricacies and like getting her to make a decision that
right,
impacts the family,
right.
but teaching like there's going to be times where money is tighter.
Mhm.
And this is how you know, build self trust. This is how you can, hold duality in your nervous system.
Yeah,
This is how, things may be tight right now, but you can trust in overflow.
yeah, yeah,
And just building that skill of like I think it does come back to self trust in like so many areas.
yeah. This is one of
And
the
yeah.
mm, this is one of the areas that I love that you bring up self-trust because I think subconsciously that's what I'm aiming for
Mhm.
her to get. One of the things that we've talked about recently is, because at the end of the day, like I'm remembering that I've started probably having these conversations with her at about or being more intentional about the conversations when she was about 7. And 7-year-olds be 7-year-olds. They wanna spend their coins on stupid shit, right? And there's part of just, like, childhood that, like, you should get to do that and get to have fun and, like, waste the money on these, like, toys and this, just crappy things. Well, then she would get irritated, when they broke, like, the
Mm,
same day that she bought them sometimes,
mm,
and it would be this I remember viscerally, we were in the car, and she had gotten something from, like, the Target dollar spot or something, so it was, like, 2 or $3, she spent her own money, we're in the car, and it was some sort of, like, squish stress ball something, something, and it was, like, the 2nd squeeze, and it just blew up. And so not only is this an entire mess now that she has to clean up, like, we're taking responsibility, but she'd literally just bought it and it broke. And so we had a whole conversation about, like, I know that sometimes, like, those toys in that section of the store seem really cool and they're really fun and they're cheaper for a reason. And we talked about quality and we talked about, like, we wanna save our money on, like, a nicer stress ball that's more well constructed and, using these, like, kind of big phrases, but, like, continuing to have that conversation with her about, like, just because you got $6 in your account doesn't mean you need to go spend it. And if you wanna spend it, it's up to you. There are, like, it's so again, the duality of, like, I'm not telling you to hoard your money because I also want you to spend it because I don't want you to have the ickiness of hoarding it, but then spending it all the time as soon as it lands there is also the thing that I don't wanna teach you. And
Mhm.
so it
Yeah,
just is like
totally. Yeah, and it's one of those things where, again, there's this idea that there is, like, one right or wrong answer,
right.
and being able to, like, move through the seasons that, like, sometimes you're gonna, like, spend it on the, like, little thing that makes you happy and, like, it's that instant, like, pick me up, and sometimes, you're gonna save it up and, like, build that buffer or reserve and or, like, decide to intentionally save for a bigger investment, right? And
Mhm,
that, like,
mhm.
it's what I'm realizing in all things is that stagnation is where problems arise.
Yeah,
And so it's staying stuck in I'm always going to save or I always, need to spend it as soon as it comes in. Like over reliance on any one pattern or habit is where, problems arise.
yeah. Well, and, like, I've been the person and I've talked about this openly on my other show that I have, Lazy Business Podcast. If you haven't listened to that, it's with my friend Jess Ely. It's definitely more of the kind of, like, nervous system, woo, headspace conversation of business. But I've openly talked about over there, I've been on an intentional journey, especially since going back out on my own as a solopreneur in 2023, but really, really this year of being very mindful of expenses in my business. And not just for the fact that I want to pay myself more money, but I was realizing, and I'd always known this was a thing, but I was finally ready this year to confront it, I think is the reality. Um, that I make investments in my business because I'm very much connecting that investment to a result that I have to get, that I have to have,
Mm,
that I have FOMO about not getting and not having, and definitely being over reliant on something to like solve a problem for me or be
mhm,
the solution, right?
mhm. Yeah.
And understanding that buying something is a dopamine hit for me, and
Mhm,
putting it in the cart is a dopamine hit, and unwrapping something or getting it is. I absolutely have gone through the phases of like, I'm just gonna go to Home Goods and I'm gonna go to Target and I'm just gonna like bebop around. And I, for a long time, luckily, I mean, COVID, as shitty as it was, there were some benefits to like being homebound and like not wanting to be out in public because all of a sudden it was a forced coming to face with, I can't scratch that itch by walking around Target or the mall or wherever because I don't wanna be in those places. How can I get that need met somewhere else? And this is my opportunity to redirect that to something more healthy. And there are things that I will always spend my money on: books, crafts, travel, a glass of wine, an appetizer. Those are my things that I love, and I wanna get to have my funds that get to be allocated to those
mhm.
things
Yeah.
because I realize that my list of things that I'm actually care about spending money on is not that long. It's not that big. And there are a lot of things I could care about that designer bags or makeup or cars or certain clothes that I just don't. And I'm like, you know what? Then I'm not in this season of reconnecting and reconfiguring my relationship with money. I do still get to be happy about where I want to spend my money. I don't have to be cold turkey in all of the places.
Mm. Yeah. 100%. 100%. And I think that's the thing is like the a curiosity is always going to be a doorway to acceptance and like knowledge and moving towards where you actually want to go.
Yep.
And B, that like we use money as a tool for like trying to reach an emotional state.
Mhm. Yep, 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 yep,
And
yep.
what you're explaining is that you're like unpacking what are those emotions that you're trying to feel? What is the dopamine, factor in this? Um and then you get to choose how to respond to that. Because like sometimes that glass of wine is going to be the thing that like, yeah, that's the right
Just
fucking thing right now.
reset my whole day. Yep,
Mhm,
yep,
mhm. But if you go in without realizing that like every purchase you're making is trying to make you feel how you feel when you have that glass of wine,
exactly.
there's other ways to do that.
Exactly. Well, and there's even been moments because I think that and I love this for this current time of the world where I think a lot more people are exploring sobriety as like a lifestyle and being very intentional about it. And it's definitely been something I've considered and it's alcohol for me has never been an issue. It's not an issue. There's no family issues. It's more of just like a could this change my skin? Like truthfully, of like is could it change my skin? Could it add a couple years to my life? Like that is the conversation I'm having. And there are certainly those moments of like if at we have this conversation with sometimes with my group of friends where it's like what's the thing that if you knew for a fact it was shaving 5 years off your life and if you stopped doing it, having it, getting it, whatever, what would that thing be? What would be the thing that would be really difficult for you, but you know for a fact it would just immediately add on 5 years to your life, 10 years to your life, whatever the number is. And for some people, it's alcohol, coffee, desserts, whatever. Going out in the sun, some things that are like actually science backed to have an actual impact on your health. But I've never had such deep relationships with those where I'm just like, "Oh, that would be so hard to give up." If someone told me tomorrow, like, "You have to give up wine," I'd be like, "Okay." Like, truly no big deal. But my point being why I bring it up is, like, because I've decided that, like, sometimes getting a glass of wine at dinner is the thing that I'm like, "Oh, this is my exciting treat." I'd rather spend, $11 here instead of going to Home Goods and spending $65 on just, like, crap for the house or whatever. But sometimes because I've made that rule, I'll sit there at dinner and be like, "Okay, well, I have to order this wine now
Mm,
because I've said this is my sweet treat and this is my thing." So now I'm in the phase of, do I want the wine? And if I don't want it, I don't have to have it.
yeah,
I feel fine.
yeah,
And so it's not even the alcohol, it is the routine of where you know what I mean? The role that it plays.
yeah, yeah. 100%, 100%. And like, to start really like becoming familiar with your relationship to money, you see how it's your relationship
With so many things.
things, right? And so, like, if you're having a hard time even developing or like seeing what your relationship with money is, think about other areas in your life and like, what's your relationship there?
Yeah.
And then, okay, how does that trait show up in my relationship to money?
Yep. Yep. And I love that you say that because I think subconsciously I was doing that before I was ready to tackle my relationship with money. And it was we're in the sweet treat era. Like you deserve it, you get that. And I was raised with that mentality of like
Mhm,
life is hard, work is hard, money is hard. So if you want to go shopping, you deserve that. Like you deserve it. Everything is hard, you deserve to go do that. Even if you're putting it on a credit card. It just the math literally wasn't mathing.
mhm,
It was
mhm.
still
Yeah.
happening. And so what I didn't realize growing up is being an adult is how unbelievably difficult it is to disentangle those wires that were sewn together before you were even aware that they were happening. And you first, in my opinion, have to even acknowledge that it's a wire that exists at all, and then have to have the actual energy, motivation, and desire to look at it
Mhm.
and then put your work gloves on, right? There's so many steps to this process. And I can't remember exactly where I was going with that, but I think that they're just everything is connected. Everything is connected. Oh, this is what it was. So for the longest time, I was the oh, it's so funny, I'm seeing a pattern here, so I'll go through the story. Longest time, I mean, I love coffee. I love, love, love coffee. It is my love language. It means there's so many things that I could talk about of why I love coffee. It's a huge important part of my life. And for the longest time, I was the, like, Starbucks girly, like, I'm gonna
Mm,
go every day if
mhm,
I could. I went so often on campus, so much of my money throughout college I spent at Starbucks, buying the coffees, doing the coffees. If we're going out, we're bebopping, running errands, I'm gonna get a coffee. If we're heading to the airport, you best your bet I'm getting a coffee, and it's just always that. And sometimes in my life, it's been like, "Okay, we're spending a lot of extra money outside. We're gonna dial back the coffees. Okay, we can dial it back up, but then the second things feel looser, I mean, that's the first habit I'm picking right back up."
mm, mhm,
Well, then in the recent years, we've learned corporate. places and their belief
Mhm,
systems and where their money goes and who they fund and who they support, and me being more intentional about where my dollar goes. And so it was at the start of this new presidency that I was like, "You know what? Actually, fuck it. Like, I hate everything and everyone, and I'm over it so much." And so in the same week of in February, I gave up Target and Starbucks
mm,
and
mhm,
never been back,
yeah,
never felt better about my decision,
mhm,
and immediately it was this, like, I didn't even miss that. I'm just no longer sweet treat girly energy anymore, and I don't miss it, like,
mhm,
at all.
yeah,
And it was just one of those things where, like, 3 years ago, I would've been like, "But she is me, I am her."
mhm,
And
yeah,
I and now it's so different.
yeah, yeah. Well, because the story you were telling yourself about these, spending at these companies, about like what that was doing for you, the things are hard and I deserve it. You switched your thoughts around it,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah,
so then the behavior followed.
yes, yep,
Makes
yep.
total
It's the
sense.
classic, what is that? CRT, whatever, it's
Yeah.
something. It's,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
thought, behaviors, pattern, something,
Mhm.
something, something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I kinda think tying it back into business expenses and investments and even just, like, choices about where we spend our time. I was on a call today with a lovely, lovely client who's just going through a little bit of an emotional time in her business right now, and I am not trained in any sort of coaching philosophy at all, and I adamantly tell my clients, like, "I am not a coach in that sense at all. I'm here to talk business strategy. What are we gonna do about it? What do the numbers tell us? What do we wanna do? What's exciting? And then what's the game plan?" And that does not stop humans from humaning and
Mhm.
having emotions and having connections to how their launch is performing or what this client said or whatever. And so this person was bringing those conversations and feelings to the conversation. I was, holding space for it, and we're going through it. And I multiple times was like, I'm just going to put a pause in the statement that I'm hearing because it
Mm.
isn't true.
Mhm.
I could find evidence to immediately disprove what you're saying within your own business, and I really want you, like, I want you to start to be mindful about the assumptions that you're making of what other people are gonna do and how things are going to happen, and all of it's tied to money. All of it is tied to money. She's in a client drought right now. A lot of people are in a
Totally.
client drought right now. Well,
Yeah.
that's part 2 of this conversation
Oh,
of
100%.
Okay, so, like, let's segue a little bit more into clients and business stuff because one of the things that you said last time, 2 conversations we were having were, you even though you're in a quote unquote recession-proof business,
Yeah.
it's been a little bit of a what the fuck is going on the
Mhm.
past few months.
Yeah.
So in the bookkeeping space, that is a service that, like,
Mhm.
everyone gonna need
Yep.
no matter what.
Yep.
And as the softwares have popped up, have proved to us that there's this huge subset of the population that does not like them, does not get them, and they don't work. And you still need a valid person to be a part of that relationship. How has this year felt for you?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's so many things that I could say about this. So my mom's an entrepreneur. Her dad was an entrepreneur. So I'm third generation entrepreneur.
Mhm.
I grew up not wanting to start my own business because I was like,
Because
it
of
is
that.
so volatile. It is so insecure. And like, because there was this lack of conversation growing up in my family about like what was actually going on with the finances, I had a lot of anxiety about money.
Yeah,
A lot of like, yeah, just like feeling like there wasn't clarity.
yeah.
Um,
It's not consistent in the
it's
entrepreneurial space,
yeah,
and I think
like
consistency is the number one solution for security, and
mhm,
if that's where the anxiety was coming from, then 100%.
yeah. So I like didn't set out to start my own business. It was I want to travel and live in the Mediterranean.
Mm.
My degree is ancient Mediterranean history. I wanted to go to the archaeological sites I'd studied and just like soak.
Ugh.
So I ended up starting a business because of like that's how I'm gonna support that life. Um and it just so happened that I arrived at bookkeeping, and that's a different conversation. But I realized as I was like going through it and starting to do bookkeeping, just how recession proof it was. That like I had inadvertently picked a very like stable industry
Mhm,
on the whole.
mhm.
Um, and so that provided a lot of like relief to the anxiety that I was experiencing. Um, because it's like, like people are going to need bookkeeping. During a recession, marketing gets cut first. And I
Yep,
see that with my marketing clients. They're
yep.
having a hard time of it. People cut their bookkeeping as one of the last.
Last. Yep.
And people hire bookkeepers as one of the first services that they start outsourcing.
Mhm.
Um, that said, this year has been wild. And two, that like the entire industry has been shifting, has been on an accelerated shift since the pandemic.
Yeah.
Like, what happened during the pandemic was insane. Insane. So, there were multiple new legislations put into place between like February and I think May that they were then constantly updating the guidelines around that. So, like, all of the bookkeepers and CPAs during this time were having to learn entirely new legislation. Then we're having to learn the updates that they're making to that legislation. Tax season is in full
Shit
throttle.
show. Mhm.
So we're trying to get previous year reports done while learning all of this new stuff, while navigating a pandemic, while having to like support our clients through this entire upheaval.
Oh my god.
And the accounting industry before the pandemic, and I don't have updated numbers since the pandemic, but the average age of a service provider in the accounting industry before the pandemic was 67 years old. This was not an industry where the majority of people were already doing cloud based services. So a huge number of service providers retired and died during that year.
Are people still becoming bookkeepers at a rate? No.
No. So also what's happening, so like the entire accounting
They're
industry.
dying and retiring, and it's not.
Because what's happening is that the people who are getting accounting degrees are going into like the big four, like mid-sized to
Mhm,
big for
mhm,
four
mhm.
firms. They're working god awful hours, being
Yeah,
treated like the like lowest
yeah.
rung grunts, and they're not getting paid super well. So a
Mhm.
whole bunch of people are deciding, well, if I'm going to work this much, I'm going to go into investment banking. I'm going to go into these other higher paid financial fields. Or they're going, this is not fucking worth it. I'm out. And so there's fewer people going into accounting degrees. There's fewer people who are staying in the accounting field. And then you have this like whole generation of bookkeepers and CPAs who are retiring because they just like
Do
they're
you
that.
have an accountant in your firm, or are you
So we're just bookkeeping.
okay,
And
okay.
I've specifically done that because there's also this really weird habit, and I have some theories about it. But in the accounting space, it's super common for the service professional to go MIA.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
The actual accountant?
Both. So like I have had clients come to us because, and this is so their previous person was their CPA and their bookkeeper. That person goes MIA, just gone. I've had clients who like didn't get payroll run for months. Mm-hmm.
This feels like a scam.
Mm-hmm. And and then and sometimes they come back and
What?
are like, hey, like I had one of my clients, their CPA went MIA on them and for like years. And then 3 years later, he's at
Stop it.
LAX and he's like, "Hey, I need my taxes done." And he's like, "Okay, right. Yeah, I can do it." And like re-engage.
Sorry. Y'all, you need to watch this on Spotify or YouTube so you can see my face because I
Hmm.
don't understand
Yeah.
that. Why?
So I have a couple of theories. So so first before I go into that, that's like one of the reasons that I don't offer tax prep services. I
Sure,
think
sure.
that it is very important to have checks and balances in this industry.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
Um, because, and because we've had situations where like clients don't have access to their own bookkeeping and then that happens. So like we're having to work with support to get access to like
right.
transfer things over. So at the very least, if like, you have a separate CPA and bookkeeper and one of those goes MIA,
Yeah,
hopefully the other has access so that like you at least still have the ability to get the information. Um, but so this is not true for being a CPA or an EA, right? Both of those are pretty intense exams. To be a CPA, you usually have to have the undergraduate accounting degree.
mhm.
The EA, it's a pretty intense 3-part test. But there is no industry wide certifications or educational requirements for bookkeeping. So, literally, you yourself could turn around tomorrow, start marketing yourself as a
I
book.
mean, don't test me.
And I think that that is actually, I think the pros of this are actually better than the cons, right? The cons is that it's like a lot of effort on the business side to like know how to vet.
Yeah,
Right. And part of this too is that there's like this misconception that bookkeeping is just data entry. It's like an
right.
admin task, and it's not.
Mhm, mhm.
And I have like a whole soapbox about that. But bookkeeping is one of the few industries that does not require an undergraduate or college level degree and doesn't require you to use your body to make income.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, right? And like a lot of other computer-based, home-based tasks are pretty low earning potential,
right, right.
right? Whereas with bookkeeping, there's actually pretty good earning potential here. Um, and so you have a lot of people entering the industry that are the primary caretakers
Yeah,
for someone who have a chronic illness or chronic disability.
yeah,
Um, and and that with not having the like a specific financial investment amount
yeah,
that is required,
to start. Mhm.
the entry ability is actually really
Yeah, yeah,
um right, like I mentioned, my degree is in ancient Mediterranean history. I was so burnt out on academia. I was not going to go and get an accounting degree or
another
some
degree.
other,
Yeah.
invest in all of the stuff to get
So
my
where did bookkeeping come from then for you?
um so I was working at a registered investment advisor. It's a wealth management investment firm. And my boss at the time said, Morgan, we're in people's safe space more than any other service provider. We're there through deaths of parents, births of first childs, kids going to college, getting married, getting divorced. Like we're there and we're having conversations with our clients through all of these very intimate, personal periods of time.
Mhm.
And I just had this wave of like, oh, this is why I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, yeah. It's not just finance. Yeah.
Mhm. And I was working at a small firm, like, it was none of the stereotypical finance bro energy. It
Mhm,
was, "Oh,
mhm.
I like this." So, I had decided, "Okay, I'm gonna move to the Mediterranean. How am I gonna support myself? What am I gonna do?" First, I decided, "Alright, I'm gonna start my own business." So, I was doing a course to, like, teach myself how to start a remote business. This was in, um I made the decision and was starting to learn in 2016, 2017.
Mhm.
Um Also, I should say, my mother's very first business was an online remote business started in 1993.
I love your mom.
She is the bleeding edge, not the cutting edge.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Yes,
So, like,
yes.
she's always worked from home on her computer
Yeah.
since my very first memories.
She's like, "I invented the internet. What do you mean?"
So, like,
She's the first girl boss.
right? So, like, I always knew that working remotely was a possibility.
Mhm.
And so I was taking this course to like, what could I do within that realm? And I was realizing as I was going through it that the things I was really drawn to was all of the like modules and conversations around the money. Like
Mm.
I created a whole spreadsheet to compare and contrast the various invoicing softwares out there and like figure out what was going to be best.
Yeah.
That was
I'm a
hard.
deep, deep research spreadsheet girly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I was seeing in the Facebook group all of these conversations where people were freaking out about that. And I was like, huh, okay. So then I was like, what can you do with money that does not require a degree?
Yeah.
And
So
because I
smart.
was working with the investment firm, I was like, okay, what would it take to get my Series 65 or Series
Right. Right.
66? And I was like, no, I'm not doing that.
My husband has those. He took those tests when he was on paternity leave with our kid because he was like, "Well, I can just sit here at home and study, study, study."
Mhm.
I mean, those binders,
Oh,
like,
yeah,
not for me.
yeah.
No.
Mm-mm. Um, so I realized that bookkeeping doesn't have like that formalized degree. And I was like,
Mhm.
okay. And so then I started researching like bookkeeping certifications, bookkeeping courses, and I found Ben Robinson's Bookkeeper Business Launch. It's since rebranded to bookkeepers.com. Um, and it was a course designed to teach you how to build a completely remote bookkeeping firm.
Nice.
So both like all accounting principles gap, like this is how
Yeah.
you do the entire bookkeeping skills and process, and this is how you set up a remote firm.
So cool.
It's perfect.
Done.
So I took that course, I like went through it, and it was amazing, and
Change
like
your life. I
it
mean,
literally changed my life.
that's insane.
Yeah, yeah. So I went through that course and launched the business and
So was
have been
that
doing it.
by, like, 2018, 2017, 2018?
So I set myself when I had first decided, okay, I'm going to move to the Mediterranean, I was like, I'm either going to save up $10,000 or I'm going to leave by October of 2017,
Mhm.
whichever happens first.
Mhm.
And so October came around 2017.
Mhm.
I moved to the Mediterranean.
Oh,
And, I had mostly finished the bookkeeping course at that point, and so then I was, um, doing some of the stuff to, get the initial clients and start,
did you
like
work with your first clients in the Mediterranean? Like, you were there when you got those first clients?
yep, I got my very first client signed January 2nd, 2018. Mhm, mhm.
My kid had just turned 1. Literally 4 days or t 2 days later.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Yeah.
That is wild.
Mhm, mhm.
How long were you in the Mediterranean?
So I was there for only 6 months, and part of it is because, right, this is 2017, 2018,
Mhm.
managing visas was a
Yeah.
part-time job. I had an
Yeah.
entire calendar, like, tracking what, like, the visa timelines and expirations and, like,
Uh-huh.
all of that jazz, because there
Well, and
weren't
you're working, and
and
so
I'm
that's
working.
also yeah,
And what I realized through doing this, because like, this is when the, like, digital nomading was first
very
really
new. Yeah.
new, but, like, kicking off. And what I realized through that is I am a business owner first.
Yeah.
I am not a digital nomad first.
Right.
Because,
Right.
like, the mentality in the digital nomad space is very much, what is the, like, basic amount of money I need to
Least amount
facilitate
yeah.
my travel
Mhm.
habit?
Mhm. Mhm.
And I learned that I did not like constantly moving and, like, constantly so, like, I
Nomading,
really
I mean.
enjoy yeah, I really enjoy going to a place and staying there
Yeah.
and, like, sinking into it. So the shortest I was ever in one place was a month,
Yeah.
and that was almost too short. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
doing, like, 6 weeks, I think, is the bare minimum.
Yeah.
And the longest I was in one place was 3 months, and that was
That
really
was
great.
ideal. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. And so where did those first couple clients from? Your overseas, were they US clients?
Yes, all US
Okay,
clients.
'cause, like, it's a US like, you bookkeep for US people, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
and part of it is, like, bookkeeping is a Venn diagram with tax law.
right.
So, and this is fundamentally why bookkeeping is not data entry. You have to understand the implications of the decisions you are
Y
making and
yeah,
how that interplays with tax law. And tax law is not a black and white scenario.
no.
Like, people think that, like, the IRS has very specific, like, instructions
It
that
was.
covers all
Mhm,
scenarios. Couldn't be further from the truth.
mhm.
Just like any US law, it is based on precedent and
Uh-huh.
interpretation.
Yep.
So I have to know what the current, like, prevailing interpretations of the tax law is,
Yeah.
and, like, what is pretty set in stone, what versus what is still open to interpretation, and then, like, be able to do the bookkeeping through that lens. So,
That's
like,
why just
mhm,
I mean, because 'cause I'll be honest, like, I obviously knew there were nuances, but I couldn't tell you what they were, but to me, bookkeeping is data entry, like,
yeah. And
categorize,
that
connect.
misconception is, like, th the basic misunderstanding that business owners have about bookkeeping, and
Yeah,
the, like, knock-on effects of believing this have such far-reaching consequences.
absolutely.
And
Yeah,
I'm like, I see it play out every single day.
yep.
And
Well, and I think one of the major consequences is in any industry, there are definitely different nuances for what you can charge. I think bookkeeping is one of those industries that there is sometimes a max of expected what you should bill on retainer because it's data entry.
uh-huh.
And the
Mhm,
misconceptions of the work that goes into that. There are like, I've said this multiple times either in a training or a podcast or whatever, where I've said, "If you think your clients won't spend it, you're wrong unless you're a bookkeeper." And if you think like
mhm.
that
Yeah,
industry is so specific where it's so ingrained, I think to what your point of data entry, of like, "Why should I pay you more than $350 a month?"
yeah.
Like, "Why would I do that?"
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Oh, I am constantly coming up against this.
Mhm.
And 2, there's also, like, a lot of internalized scarcity within the bookkeeping profession. So there's a
Interesting.
lot of bookkeepers that's, like, very much feel that of, like, I can't charge more than,
Uh-huh,
20 bucks per hour. And it's
uh-huh,
like, "Oh,
uh-huh.
oh, oh."
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
and, like, I'll do proposals where people are spending, thousands of dollars on social media management,
Yes,
and then I'm, coming
yes.
in under that because of the scope of the transaction volume, and they're like, "That's too much."
Yep,
I'm
yep.
like,
Well, and
"Okay."
because it's one of those things where, like, I have to think because there are people who I even have these conversations with in my clients who say, I really just I wanna help people who
Mm,
maybe can't afford other services, or I
mm,
maybe wanna do a nonprofit, or I maybe wanna do" they wanna be a nonprofit without actually establishing themselves as a nonprofit is what they're actually saying. Um, and it's like that bleeding heart service provider, right? And I have to imagine that if you couple that with being in an industry that I think, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but, like, you probably have your own, like, markers of when someone's ready to hire a bookkeeper and when maybe it's
mhm.
unnecessary, right? There's definitely
Yeah.
that. But I would say that you're probably of the camp of, like, when you're ready, this is a must expense. Like, you need to do this. It's required. Social media marketing is not required, right? Design is not required. Copywriting, not required. But if you are a bleeding heart service provider and you're in an industry that you believe is a required business expense, then I could see how those things could contradict each other about like, well, they're not going to fire me, so I don't want to charge them that much because they need me. And so why should I? Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. And so this gets at 2 things. So there's 2 purposes to bookkeeping. So the first is what I call compliance level bookkeeping, right? This is the bookkeeping that you do to, like, make the IRS happy,
Mhm, mhm,
right? Like,
mhm.
this is the
That's
legal
all I do.
requirement, like,
Uh-huh.
we have to file our taxes. It is a legal requirement. Like, it is law that if you have a business, you have to do bookkeeping and report to the IRS. right? And you have to do that in a preset, agreed upon format of information,
Yep.
right? And this is where people think bookkeeping stops. This is the data entry side. And this is where like bookkeepers that still have that like internalized scarcity reside is you're only paying me because the IRS says you have to,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
And how that gets tied up in the idea that it's data entry. But then there's a second purpose to bookkeeping, what I call management level bookkeeping. And
Mm.
this is the bookkeeping where you are still complying with IRS standards, but presenting information and formatting information in a way that is specific to your business and provides a um, level of detail that allows you to make strategic decisions.
Yes. 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 Mhm.
And that this is like what I call like strategic leadership within
Yes.
the business
Yes.
and finances.
And that is why I avoid hiring a bookkeeper because that's the part that makes me nervous. Of
Mm,
like,
wait,
if it's just data entry, then like I don't have to talk to you. You can just plug and play and we do categories. If we're having strategic conversations and you're going to be a player in, hey, investments here, revenue here, hey, it dipped here, why? That's me then confronting the
mhm,
emotional connection of money.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And like it's this ladder. Like you can't jump straight into the strategic leadership and like management level bookkeeping without having dealt with the mindset, without having done cleanup, without having gotten to a cadence of like monthly um
What's
ongoing
expected?
bookkeeping.
What's normal? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that to get to this this management level bookkeeping, like you can't do that with a new business.
Mm-mm.
You have to build up history. You have to see, what was. Otherwise, like we're just throwing spaghetti out the wall. We're
Yeah.
making
Yeah.
wild broad assumptions.
Yep. Especially if you only have, like, that years of data, like,
Mhm. Mhm.
you're that's
Yeah.
not enough.
Yeah. Yeah. And that to do this management level bookkeeping, like even before this, right? There's a lot more gray in the bookkeeping than
Mhm.
most people think, but like this strategic piece is entirely dependent on you. And
Yes.
like, this is where, and it's always prevalent, but like bookkeeping, mindset, and operations are so deeply connected.
Mhm.
I see this constantly. And so to know how to lead strategically, you have to have conversations about your operations, about your preferences, about what business model do you want? How then does the finances filter into that? What are your goals? What are your plans? And then let's look at that with the finances. But like, I can't tell you one set way to
Nope.
like build out a budget or like the
No.
correct
No.
margins for a budget. Like, it's so
Right.
dependent.
And this is why bookkeepers, I think in my opinion, are served really well when they niche who they're serving. Because then you learn that business and that industry and that niche really, really well.
Mhm.
And you have such unique access to behind the books of all of these other businesses. So even without naming names, you're able to have conversations that are saying, like, well, the standard I'm seeing is blank.
Mhm.
And here's what's across the board because it's with 50 clients or 30 clients, not just one.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And like, that's one of my favorite things is that
Yeah. That's where I
I,
would nerd out. That's what makes me want to do something. I'm not doing this, but that's what makes me want to do something like this because I love just getting behind the scenes of the data and then being like, here's what I'm seeing. Like, that's my favorite thing to do.
yeah. And like, I get like a microcosm of the US economy in real time.
Yes.
It is
Yes.
so cool. It is so cool.
Oh,
And so, like, to go back to one of the earlier points is I've been experiencing this myself this year and then seeing it with my clients is like there's like 10% of businesses right now that are killing it, that are
mhm,
like having gangbuster years. It's going amazingly. And then 90% of clients are like having super slow years, down
mhm.
revenue, Um, but at the same time, there is this like deep investment in the self and like
Yes.
personal development. And so people are like, yeah, finances are shit this year, but I feel better than ever.
Okay. I need you to start writing a report every year that's just like, you know how like I think it's ConvertKit that does this every year. They do like the creators economy report. And so they like poll everyone and their reports are, I'm pretty sure it's ConvertKit, or Kit. Um, but they release, I think it's in like December or January, where they poll all of their community and their members and whatever. And it's like, on average, here's what a creator is making per
Mm,
month. And here's how many subscribers they have. Here's how many emails they send. Here's what the open. And so it's in their niche and in their industry. But if you have, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of customers, then you have an
mm,
incredible data set to
yeah,
share. And they push out this report. And it's one of my favorite things. I love, love, love reading things like that.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I'm just gonna text you and be like, what are you hearing these days?
Seriously. Oh,
What are
it's
you seeing?
so fun. I have actively thought about like how to formalize this because it's so interesting to me. And like,
I would print it out and read it every single page. I
oh,
love it. I'll be your first person.
okay, I'll figure out some like state of the union. Yeah,
Please.
yeah, totally.
That is so cool. Okay. I know we could keep talking for hours. There's actually is a whole subset of this conversation we didn't get to touch on today. But I definitely want to have you back for part two, especially as that specific conversation evolves. I know it's in action right now, and
Mhm.
this is definitely going to be a cliffhanger for you all. You just need to listen to part two whenever we release it, because I am sure that's months from now, from even being able to fully talk about it. But I loved getting to hear more, obviously behind the scenes of your industry. That I think it's such a cool space that you're in, and truly of how like there's one of my favorite podcasts. It's called My Favorite Murder, and it's a true crime podcast. And they have this bit that they do, and they've done for years, where if they're reading a story and there's like some sort of conspiracy about it, and the it's connected to like the police department in that town, and the police department gets funded by the mayor, and the mayor gets funded by whatever. And so they have this whole thing where like once they realize that's what's happening, one of them will go, and it goes all the way to the top, and it's everything goes to the top, and they say it like that. And that's how I feel about money, and like
Mhm.
money relationships, and our connection with money, and our emotions to money. Like it goes all the way to the top. Like it's connected to everything. And as much as I don't love that, it is also kind of empowering. And it's like, okay, if we can recognize the tendrils that it has within our own psyche, and the decisions that we're making in our business and our family, and how we're raising our kiddos, and the talks we're having with our friends, and all of these things, it truly infiltrates everything. And knowing that and recognizing that allows us, I think, to have our own say over that, and navigate it how we want to. So I really, really love this conversation. Before we leave, can you let everyone know who's listening, who has just had such a great time hanging out to I think you're my longest episode ever so far, which I'm not surprised at all. But let everyone know where they can hang out with you online, get to know more about you, and if they're an ideal fit for your client roster, maybe they can reach out about bookkeeping.
Yeah, absolutely. So the best place to start is to go to honestlybookkeeping.com/gifts, GIFTS. Bookkeeping is two Ks. That is the question I always get.
Two O's, two K's.
Two O's, two Ks. Um,
Two E's.
and there is a quiz, which is what one change would upgrade your bookkeeping right now, because
Nice.
there is an order of operations to this. And so
I might go
that
take
lets
that
you
quiz.
know where in the process you are. Um, and you can then from my website look at my about page and see if the way that I speak about bookkeeping is a good fit. Um, going against what you just said earlier, we don't niche down by industry, but rather by psychographic profile. And so,
Yes.
uh,
Niche by something.
exactly. So the people who we love working with typically read the about page and go, "Holy fucking shit!" Yes.
Yeah. So if you have that reaction when you read the about page, then definitely reach out.
Exactly.
And maybe you can get your ducks in a row for next year. And
Mhm.
thank you so much for coming on. I love you. This was so great. And I can't wait to have you back on in a couple months.
Yeah, definitely. I'm so looking forward to this.
Hey, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Sell the Damn Service. I'm really honored that you spent however many minutes you just did with me. Now, if you could go do me a very quick favor and be sure to like, subscribe, leave a rating and a review for this podcast over on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, or, pick your favorite platform. I'm not going to be that choosy. It truly means the world to me. It's how little tiny shows that are like mine, that are self-funded and, being edited in between dinner time and school pickup, it helps us get seen. It's free for you to do and takes just a couple of minutes. And I would love you forever if I could send you an edible arrangement as a big thank you. I would. So instead, consider this giant thank you directed just at you for going to do that. And share this episode or this podcast with a friend who needs to hear it. I love ranting and raving about service-based business strategies. And, I think more people should listen to this show, honestly. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I really, really, really am grateful that you're here, and we will chat very soon.